Good morning, people. I'm just going live for a little quick session on just miniature prep. So I've got these Merregons I finished on previous. Did I do them on a previous stream or just do them anyway? Forget. I think I just finished them yesterday. But yeah, basically they're all done now. They now need a pass just to make sure they're all ready for 3D printing. So there'll be a few little anomalies I've just got to kind of weed out, and a few issues we have to kind of get through and resolve before they go for 3D printing. I know I've covered this on other streams anyway, but I'm just going to focus this one just on this process. And yeah, before I do carry on, I've got a new hat, bit of branded merchandise. I might be putting them up if anybody wants them, but for now I just wanted a new one for myself. Okay, so this is the first time as well, by the way. I'm trying to stream to 4 platforms simultaneously, so this should be going up on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Trovo, I think it is. So it's a new one I've just signed up on. So we'll see how it all goes. Hopefully everybody gets the video feed, and I get the stream chat multi-stream off all the platforms. So if you do comment to me and I don't respond, it might just be that the multi-stream's not working. But fingers crossed. Let's hope we succeed. Okay, so I've got my pen. Where's my pen? There we go. That's my pen. Okay, so first thing I'm just going to do, I'm just going to go on to these models. So I've split them out already. I've made sure that each model is its own file, so you can see down here we've got the ruler in the scene, which again, the ruler is 100mm tall. Each of these models is relative to that 100mm, so as long as that is in the scene from the very beginning, no matter how I pose the models, they're all going to come out properly scaled and relative to each other. So I use my 100mm ruler, that goes into the scene. It could just be a cube, but having the ruler notches does help you to kind of like visually see where the height of the model stands. And every one of these models, based on my base meshes, is scaled to 32mm scale to start with. So from the bottom of the foot to the eye line is 32mm in every case. So we're going to go and I'll just move my mouse so I don't accidentally click back on that. We're going to just go in and start on the first one. I'm just going to turn the poly group on so I can identify which one it is. So you can see I've already gone through and dynameshed these together, so they are a single object now. And what I'm looking for on these guys is things like right up here in the armpit we've got a little gap about, in fact let me just solo this guy. Okay, so right up here in the armpit we've got a little gap which is not good. So I'm just going to get in there with my inflate tool. I've got no dynamic tessellation on. I just want to blow up this bit of detail in here. And it's not elegant, but it fills the gap. And it's obviously when you print the model, you're not going to see it anyway. I'm going to just fill this little bit up here in the under the shoulder pad, because again it's a detail area that you're not going to see on the model. It's not going to be reachable. So, same as this whole area in here. Actually, I might just fill this whole area in. So I'm just going to come in. This is literally just inflate, so it's just going to kind of like balloon up all the detail, and it's going to look pretty messy. But then we'll do one final dynamesh on it before we're done, before we're finished. That will help uniform all the mesh, and then I can just run a little smooth over it if I need to. So I'm just going into the areas I know I'm not going to be able to reach with a paintbrush. Okay, so just into here, and again with the inflate tool you just need to be a little bit careful to make sure that you don't overdo it too close to a flat surface, because on something like this, if I do inflation really hard on the inside, there's every chance the outside is going to start bulging and ballooning, and we don't want that. So I just need to avoid that bit. So I'm just going to come in and again just inflate the gap between the bicep and the torso, and that'll give me a nice little bit of a solid area. I'm just going to do a little inflate here because we've got where I pose the arm, there's a funny joint, and I need to come back in and rework this elbow a touch and the bicep here. It's gone a little bit weird with the posing. Around the neck, oh yeah, I also need to blend the neck in, and this is the final sculpting pass on these guys, so there'll be certain areas that were previously separate tools, and now I'm just kind of merging them back together. So yeah, just getting into these little areas where, again, there's little hairline gaps that are going to be too small on a model. So bear in mind, again, this whole model is 32, well, probably about 34mm to the top of the head. So we're going to have issues if we have what appear to be very, very thin kind of crevices and gaps on the model. Because if we've got those, then they're going to be super thin. Like up here again, at 32mm scale, this is going to be a hairline gap you won't see in here. You certainly won't get a paintbrush in there. So I'm just going to fill it and do away with it instead. Okay. Right up into the armpit. Right then, so I've already done this on the Spine Devils. So if you saw the Spine Devils the other day, I have already done this whole pass on these guys. So when they're done, what I'll do, I'll drop them into Lychee, and we'll do a little bit of a support run. Okay. So again, I'm just sorting out all of the little bits where the geometry of the model's creased up because of posing, or there's weird little bits of overlaps or a visible ridge between different items, different parts. So I'm going to come in and obviously add some detail into the neck on this guy. Right, the other area to watch out for here is between the hands and the weapon. So again, I'm just going to fill and inflate in that little gap just to make sure that we've got visibility, well, say visibility, we've got visibility of the whole area, but we can get in there to paint it. And where we have a spot like this, I'm just masking it off and hiding everything else. What we don't want is gaps between the finger and the weapon, because that is, again, it's going to need potentially supporting, and we don't want to get into doing that. And as well as supporting, it's also going to need cleaning and curing in the cleanup process, and again, we ain't getting into that. That's it's not going to happen. Okay, so that is now filled. I'm going to use my, oh, bear with me 1 second. I've got a call coming in on Facebook. Let me just mute that. This is my friend Max. I don't even know how to stop it. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. So, do you know what? I think it's because I've got Facebook open. Let me just close it down. Okay. So, I'll just let Max know when I'm streaming. Now Max is just sending me some really, really nice images to do with the Crystal Collapse game, which I'm rather excited to see, so I'm going to have to give him a call back once this stream's done and have a little catch up on that and see where we're up to. Looks like we've got some new designs on the game cards, on the profile cards for the characters. and I think I said before we've got new artwork. So if you saw what I showed off on the stream the other day, where they were all really nice, bright anime style, we're having them all redesigned a little bit, so they're going into a bit more of a dark and gritty, still very anime style, but more akin to what you would see on something like the Diofield Chronicles, or perhaps Final Fantasy Online, Vagrant Story, if you remember that one. That's another one of the things we've kind of drawn inspiration from, artwork wise, style wise rather. And another thing as well, just see what anybody thinks of this, but we were also talking about doing the game using an unusual scale. We were thinking about 40mm, because we're going to be doing these lovely character sculpts, and although it's going to be released as like a board game, we want it to be very kind of miniature centric, so the miniatures are very important there. So we're thinking maybe go 40mm scale, make them a little bit larger than usual. Hey Pino, how you doing? Good to have you on, mate. How's things going? Is your Patreon kicking off well? Kicking off like you've just started, eh? He's been going for a while, this Pino has. He's a good man. Okay, so I can't see anything else on here that needs fixing right at the moment. I can't see any more resin trap areas. Maybe down here with the finger, perhaps. No, I'll let that slide. So the next thing to do is to make sure we've got a flat surface on the soles of the feet. So they're going to be glued to a base, obviously. You want a fairly flat surface to work with. So I'm just going to take my slice curve brush. I'm going to slice off as minimum as I can get away with, to just take the bottom of the foot off. Good morning, Chris. How you doing? I've already chatted to Chris as well. So talking about the Cursed Empire. Oh god, the Cursed Empire miniatures. He's given me the next round of figures to get work through. So I think if you're a Chaos player, or if you like, morning Rick, how you doing, mate? If you're a Chaos player and you like any of the kind of the cultist looks and all of that kind of stuff, the next wave of characters coming for Cursed Empire is going to tick all the boxes for you, I think. And Chris has agreed to let me do these guys on stream for you as well. So a little bit of promotion for Chris and the Cursed Empire game, and a little bit of content for me. Everyone's a winner. Oh, good stuff. In amongst all of the Essen prep, mate. Chris has just he sent me a couple of pictures. Tune into his Facebook channel, actually, the Fargos Insiders group on Facebook. He's been posting, well, I don't know if he's posted them yet. He's just sent me photographs this morning of a couple of models I've sculpted for him that he's had printed in absolutely epic scale. And I'm not talking epic like 6mm scale like the old 40k epic. I'm talking like, you know, what's it, about 20 centimeters or something crazy? They're big, really big. Okay, so yeah, I've just masked off the bottom there. I'm going to delete the hidden bit. And where are we at now? Right, so this guy I feel is ready. So I've done the little bits of veins and stuff on his neck. They're quite Quasimodo-esque. I might add a few little veins up on the coming in from his arms and things, just to make him look a little bit more, you know, intimidating, say. So yeah, so we'll be doing some Crystal Collapse stuff on stream. We'll be doing some Cursed Empire bits. So yeah, you guys are in for a treat. And then also this stream that's running now it should be the prerequisite to get me over the threshold for Twitch affiliate. So we're up to 60 something followers. I think it was 61, was it, or 67 or something like that. So a good number of followers going on now. Fair few streams, lots of hours streamed, and it's all stacking up good. Okay, let me just get in and sort this dodgy elbow out. So yeah, so again, if anybody's going to Essen next week, keep your eyes peeled for Cursed Empire there. Gonna have a little look at some of the minis and try the card games with the team there. And be sure to enjoy yourself. Which, somewhere like that, how could you not? It's like Nerdvana, isn't it? Cheers, Chris. Right, so I'm just going to re-dynamesh this guy, take the groups off. Just going to re-dynamesh at 1000 resolution, is it? Yep. And then he's now a single, solid, homogeneous bit of infernal troop. I feel like these are the kind of they're so creepy and weird. Yeah, I know, mate. I'm literally just going to be doing what I'd be doing anyway. To be fair, my plan is I'm just going to be sculpting models that I would be sculpting anyway. I'm just going to do it on stream and just talk my way through it. It's one of the things when you're sculpting in your own office, and it's just me in this shed, for lack of a better term. You know, it gets a little bit kind of tedious at times. It's nice to be able to talk to people again, and you know, even though they're not physically here, I can still engage with other people, and it's all good. So yeah, it's a long game. But I've set it all up now, so we've got YouTube, we've got Trovo or something, is it? Or yeah, cheers, Chris. it is a good little shed. It serves me well. But yeah, I've got Trovo, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube all set up to multi-stream now. So we should be having all 4 platforms being hit simultaneously. So it looks like I've got people tuning in on Facebook and Twitch at the moment, so not necessarily anything from the other platforms just yet, but we'll see. Obviously I've got to build audiences there, so I wouldn't expect them to be popping up overnight or, you know, at the drop of a hat. So 1 is down. Let's move on to number 2. Okay, so number 2, right, I've already done a little bit on this guy by the look of things. I'm just going to delete the bottoms of his feet. I'm going to re-dynamesh without the groups to get those little studs on his hand incorporated. And let's just see if I've done the sculpting pass on him. So, looks like I've done a bit on his neck. Let's give him a few bulgy veins again. Yeah, definitely been in and done a little pass on this guy. I'm just going to give him a few veins up his neck. Just to make him look a little bit, they're really haunting, aren't they? They're kind of just proper creepy. With the face masks and whatnot. Yes, Pointy, you're dead right. You're doing it anyway. You might as well stream it and gain from the process. But yeah, it's definitely one to kind of like. I mean, like I say, this isn't the streaming isn't my primary thing. I've got the whole miniatures business in the background. Well, I say in the background, it's my main thing that's going on. So all of the sculpting I'm doing here, everything else, it's all the products that are going out. And I've got to get them done no matter what, so I may as well do the streaming with them as well. And if clients allow me to stream a little bit to help with a little bit of promo on their part, then that just means I've got a little bit more content to put out. Otherwise it's just it's just stream when I do my own stuff then, and it just means the streams are a little less frequent if I'm heavy on commissions. But there's a dodgy bit there. Now the one thing I haven't done with these guys, which we talked about in a previous stream, was I think it was it Kev or Hobby Corner Kev? Somebody basically requested one of these guys at least to have Crocs on. So I may do that later on. I actually did do the Crocs, posed the model, and then I can't even remember what I did next, but Zbrush crashed on me, and when it loaded back up, the Crocs were no longer in existence. So whether that's like the the universe telling me the Crocs are a bad idea, or a trial to see if I'm willing to pursue it or not, who knows. But for now they're not going on. Some point soon they will. Okay, so I'm going to call him done, I think, because it looks like I've already done the sculpting pass on this guy. For this one, right, I can see a few areas here already. So up in the armpit, we're going to go and fill that bit in. So just here, we're going to inflate just down there, just to close that gap up between the body and the bicep. I'll smooth that little line out so it doesn't look like a separate piece. Same around the head. We're just going to go and just blend that. Not too much. Just going to blend that little line. Then we'll come and sculpt the sinews and tendons and things in the neck as a second run. A bit more bulk up around his neck here. Auto save. Here we go. Let's just wait for it. It's now a massive file, so it's going to take a while to do it. There we go. It's not too bad. On my previous PC, that would have taken 20 odd minutes, and I'll just have to walk away and come back later. But since I've upgraded, it's been an absolute boon. I can now allow the auto saves to happen. Okay. So I'm going to do a little bit of a ridge across the back of the neck. Just build that up a touch. Come down. I'm going to do a bit of a spine, like a bulging, protruding spine on the top of the neck. Oh God, Chris, it was oh God, I can't even remember now. It was a Ryzen, I want to say 950 or something like that, or God, now you've asked. I'm gonna have to check on where do I find it now? Is it devices? I can't even remember how to find it. I'm sure there used to be just a PC settings, but about your PC, is it maybe? Oh, here we go then. So it's an Intel i9 10850K. I've got it here. Morning, Wilkie-sama. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, it's an Intel i9. It's a Ryzen processor chip, and can't see more than that. it is a beast. It is absolutely a beast of a machine. Thank you for the follow, Wilkie-sama. Yeah, I can't remember what it is. It's a very bright and flashy water cooled machine. Loads of RAM, high spec graphics card. It's the when we bought it, which was beginning of the year, I think it was, or back end of last year. It was a proper top of the range machine. So, but I've yet to actually put it to use in gaming. But it's a proper top spec gaming rig. So, but it's never seen any gaming action, unfortunately, because I don't really have time for gaming these days, unfortunately. I'd love to say I do, but if I'm gaming at all, I'm probably playing Legend of like Zelda and what do you call it, something like that on the Switch with Jacob, because he's really loving his. We've been playing through Breath of the Wild again, doing a second pass on that because he's really looking forward to the second one coming out. So Breath of the Wild 2 has just had a release date of March, I believe. He's completed Breath of the Wild 1 on his own, I'll add as well. So you know, kudos to him for that, because it's a bigger game than I'd have tackled, I think. But he's finished Breath of the Wild 1, and now he's getting on to preparing for Breath of the Wild 2. So I've told him if he finishes the game a second time over, I'll get him the DLC for it to keep him ticking over. So you can have the Breath of the Wild 1 DLC then. And he's seen the little motorbike thing you get in it, so he's very keen. Okay, so that side's done. This side needs a good bit of inflate. I need to join that muscle in as well, so I'll just do my inflate around here. Let's boost that bit up. Into all the little nooks and crannies, make sure those little resin voids are filled. And probably, yeah, I've got a nice one here in the front of the bicep I've got to get rid of. Top of the shoulder, between the shoulder pad and everything else, and now I'll try and fill as much of that in as possible, because again, it's an unreachable area. And if you can't paint it, you fill it. Okay, there we go. Bit more in there just to sort that out. Touch there, I think. Right, so bottom of the feet got to get cut off again, so we're going to deal with that in a minute. So I'm going to make sure the hand is, yeah, that hand is not connected. Oops, I don't want to slice it, I want to just isolate it. So in we go. Okay, so right under here you can see I've got all of this open geometry. Now the hand is facing into the body like that. You're not going to see the palm of the hand, so this side here is completely obstructed from view. It is completely unreachable. So I am going to just literally inflate it around there. It's going to be a bit crass and a bit crude, but doing this will save having to add supports into this area. Okay, so I can now unhide everything. There you go. A little bit in there. Let's zoom out and re-dynamesh again. Now I'm re-dynameshing everything now because this is the final pass. I've got my Dynamesh resolution set to 1000. So with the 1000 resolution across the board, that just means I've got a standard from one model to the next. So as I come down to do the what do we call it now? Decimation. So decimation is where I think, if I remember right, decimation literally means you know, divide it by 10 or thereabouts. It's some kind of rough translation, but it basically is just reducing the poly count down ready for printing, because at the moment these guys are 1.2 million polys each. It's doable, it's printable, but if you've got a lower spec machine, it's going to really struggle. So I want to try and get that down to around about 400,000. So what we'll do is, once we've got the Dynamesh pass done, everything could be Dynamesh to 1,000, so we'll have around about 1,200 polys a model. The next thing we'll do is we'll do a pre-process, we'll we'll decimate everything, and that will help to bring the poly count down to something that is manageable on more kind of like lower spec machines. I mean, I've had some really kind of like really awful models from some of the Patreons I've done where they've not even Dynameshed them. They've not decimated anything. Sorry. And when you try and put it into the slicer, even my machine was struggling. So if you're working on like an i5 laptop or something like that, you've got no hope of getting them done. So we'll make it so that you can actually use the models and put them into the slicers. Right here, I'm just hollowing it out a little bit. Should have done this really before before it was like processed and merged all together, but I missed it. So I'm just going to go and carve out some of this stuff here just to make sure it's looking right. Okay, and now I need to take a bit out. Polish that backside there because you can actually see it from the other side, so I'm just going to put a little bit of polish across it, and I'm just going to take the orbs tool, I'm just going to put a little detail in there just so it shows through on the other side. Cheers, Chris. Yeah, it is. It's one of those things you've always got to be thinking about the 3D printing side of things, because there's too many people out there that don't, and obviously if you're not considering that, you're not thinking about the end product, and you're not making something that's fit for purpose, and that's got to be the end goal all the time through. Ah, very nice. Yeah, Wilkie Sandler's just saying that now that I couldn't remember who had actually bought Pixelogic out on Zbrush, but it's a company called Maxon. So anybody who had a Maxon subscription before is now eligible for incorporating Zbrush into it. So I'll put my hands up and I'll say I've never actually heard of Maxon prior to this whole takeover. So I think it might have been more industry kind of like wide, but yeah, Wilkie Sam, get stuck in with it. It's a fantastic bit of kit. It'll do you proud. Just save often. It's the only bit or tip I'll really give you. It's fickle and temperamental at times, so like I say, I was actually sculpting Crocs on one of these guys for a bit of a joke that followed on from a stream the other day, and I went to go and save it, and I was thinking about pressing save. Right, got you. Yeah, I was thinking about pressing save, and then it just kind of went, yeah, no, and then it just showed me my desktop. And that's the point when you jump up and run around screaming and swearing and, walk off and make a cup of tea and try and like settle yourself down, ready to come back and have another go. But yeah, I never bothered with the Crocs the second time round, so they've all got bare feet and, manky toenails. Which feels fitting for the like demonic legion, I suppose. Right, so have I got any other areas in here I need to do a pass on? Right, the neck, I just need to do a few. Just going to carve in a few sinewy bits just to give the neck a bit of texture. Because at the moment, these guys, they kind of remind me of. I don't know if has anybody watched The Owl House on Disney Plus? It's a fantastic cartoon series if you haven't watched it. But I realised the other day when I've done these like extended necks, like leaning forward, and then they've got this like shape to the face. They remind me of a character in the show called Hootie, who's basically he's like a, I don't even know what he is. It's like an owl door knocker, but the face just kind of like can extrude out indefinitely, like some kind of like crazy owl worm thing. The kids love the show, both of them do. It's a bit creepy for Willow at times, but it's well worth a watch. So right, veins on the neck and arm again. So I'm gonna boost the intensity up a touch on my brush on this one. And take the size down because that's a bit too big. Okay, there we go. Creepy is good, but when you're a 3-year-old girl who likes My Little Pony and LOL dolls and all that kind of girly stuff, yeah, to be fair, she enjoys it anyway. She don't really care about the creepy bits. But yeah, she loves Hootie. Right, now the thing with this, doing the standard brush here like this, using it for like these kind of veins, as you go over it, as you go over the brush, it will apply the kind of the overlay. So rather than just smoothing it in, you will literally like draw straight over. And for veins, it's perfect for that. So that's number 3 complete. Let's move on to number 4. So here we've got a more kind of like swinging his halberd kind of pose. Let's smooth out the shoulder here. I've got to get into that front bit there because that is just an absolute no-no. So let's just get that filled and inflated. If resin gets in there, you are not getting it back out again. And I don't want to have to try and get supports in there either, so I'm just going to smooth so that the bicep joins the shoulder pad everywhere there. A little bit down the bottom there we've got to deal with as well. And here. Right, that is a sneaky little void. I don't know if you can see that moving in there. But that is just going to cause problems, so that needs filling. And it's really important to find these things like before you send it into a slicer, because even netfabb won't sort that out for you because it's going to believe it's part of the geometry. No worries, Chris. Take it easy and good luck with the ongoing prep. I won't be on for too long on this one myself actually, because Hayley's just out picking up, I think she's dropping her mum to work at the moment, and then she's going to be going to pick Willow up because today is a Thursday, and Willow, as she perpetually reminds us, only does half a day on a Thursday. So she'll be at nursery in the morning, and then when all the kids go for lunch, we have to pick her up and bring her home. And she absolutely loves it, except today, normally Hayley takes her out for mommy time, and they do a little bit of something together. But today she's on the PTA, and they're doing like a cake sale, and a coffee. I think it's a Myton Hospice coffee morning. So yeah, she's on PTA duty and stuff today, helping with the cake sale and all that kind of business. So I've got Willow coming to keep me company for the afternoon. So about lunchtime I'm going to have to knock off and go and make her a sandwich and get her settled down, and no doubt do some colouring with her. And then she'll probably want to sit down and watch YouTube on my Echo show. I've actually still got the box from my PC down in the corner of the room over here, and it's currently got a cushion inside. she goes and hides and sits inside the box, puts a blanket over the top, drags the Echo Show inside, and then sits there watching YouTube with we've got a little pink kind of what do you call it? It's like a big pink glass jug with a handle over the top, which is it's for putting candles in outside. She's got some LED fairy lights in there. That's her like little torch kind of thing. So yeah, she just makes herself comfortable. Both the kids do, and I say it's not ideal for streaming when I've got them in here, because you will hear, "Dad, I'm on the potty. Dad, can you wipe my bum? Dad, I finished. I've spilt my drink. Can I have a snack?" All that good stuff that you always get from kids. So yeah, the disruption is not conducive to streaming, but wouldn't change it for the world. Okay, so let's get some crazy veins going on up his neck again. Where they end, I'm just going to smooth out the we're going to come back in, so there's a smooth transition. This bit here, right, this bit is going to need like micro supports to connect it back down, because you're not going to be able to reach the ground from that point, so it's going to have to join back to the armour. So I'm just going to boost that a touch and just inflate it, just so it's more free supporting. She does, mate. Yeah. She's just always in here. So I've got a bean bag down there, and I've got the a little telly on the wall. So my son comes down here and he'll crash out on the bean bag, and he'll put his switch on and he'll be playing that up on the screen. And then Willow will just like crash out on the sofa, do a bit of colouring, and yeah, to a point I can get my head down and do a little bit of work, but you know, he's 7 years old and smart as anything, and she's, you know, full of beans, and she's free. She's a clever little thing as well, and they just like to do their own thing. You know, they know what they want. So Matthew, thanks for the like on the stream. Okay, so right, I've just noticed here I've stuffed up and I've got the shoulder pad intersecting the neck. So I had to do that on this one. I had to position the shoulder pad because the arm lifted up. And when the arm lifted up, it basically needed to be, it needed the shoulder pad to move to enable that position. So I'm just going to, move the hem of the hem, is that right? The edge of the shoulder pad. I'm just going to reprofile that so it comes up a bit higher. I'm going to run my Orb Cracks brush with a bit of a higher intensity on it, just right across that edge line, just to give it a bit of a sharper definition. And then I'm going to use my H polish, and I'm just going to use the Alt key. I'm just going to buff that out all the way across until I can't see a visible transition anymore. So I'm going in circular motions here. I don't know if you can see that or if you can tell. It might just look like a blur. I'm kind of doing very rapid, small, circular strokes. Pressing quite hard, but the dynamic tessellation is not on. Am I pressing hard? No, actually, I'm not pressing hard at all. Sorry, I'm going very lightly, but I'm going repeatedly over areas. So this large flat surface will buff out and flatten down for me. I'm going to crank the intensity right up. I'm going to turn my laser mouse off. I'm just going to put a few nicks and notches in there just to make that edge consistent. Okay, there we go. Let's give him a nice cut on his arm. jagged it up a little bit so it's not too clean. Okay. Put my lazy mouse back on, reduce my intensity down. I'm just going to put a raised ridge on the edge of that, just so it's looking a bit fresher. Okay. And then I just want to move that bit of shoulder back in there, so I'm just going to sculpt that back in. So I think this guy's done, apart from I'm going to do what I did before on the last one. I'm just going to hollow that skirt bit out. Bloody auto saves. Okay. I'm just going to put my dynamic tessellation on for this bit. I just want to try and smooth this out a little bit quicker. So dynamic tessellation, when you're smoothing, it will help to smooth it out faster. You just got to be careful you don't do that what I've just done. So if you go too close to the edges, it's going to mash up all your edges, which is never good. You can use masking, but when you're using dynamic tessellation you can't use back face masking, which is what I would normally use to protect something like that. So if you're not familiar with it, back face masking in ZBrush basically is it's the equivalent of doing that, so I can't sculpt on it, but it'll only affect the side that I'm not sculpting. So if I'm sculpting on here, it'll just stop anything I do on this side affecting the bits I can't see, without me having to go in and actually physically mask it off. It's a very, very useful tool, but it doesn't work when you're doing anything like smoothing or if you're trying to cut in a negative. So if I'm trying to like carve into a model and I've got back face mask on, it really doesn't like doing it, and it ends up creating loads of random artifacts. So you really need to be careful not to, if you use it, remember that you've left it on, because if you leave it on and then try and progress and do something different, it may come back and bite you. Okay, I'm not very happy with that bit there, where I've got this, like these crystals and everything like that, and I've got the gap between the body. Ideally I would love to close that up, but I don't think it's going to work. I'm going to try and see if I can close it a little bit, just because this is an area for like supports and other things to need to get into. And I've got this little space here between the back of the crystal. Oops, I've accidentally inflated his face. Right, so I've got this gap between the back of the crystal and the body, so I want to try and just close that off a little bit. So if I can do it, I'll be happy. It's not actually a crystal, they're supposed to be like iron chunks. So right, so I've achieved what I was setting out for. I've closed that little gap. I'm just going to do the same between that spike and the bicep, so I'm just going to inflate the bicep a touch. Okay, happy with that. A couple of veins up the side of the neck on this side, and then we're good. And then from the top of the arm down again. Oops, I've accidentally undone. So with the veins, one of the things you want to be careful of is not to do too many things in the same size, because you'll get a couple of like large veins, but you'll also get like smaller ones going on. It's good to have a mixture of both, so you're not it looks like you put a bit of thought and attention into it. rather than just slamming it all in. Walkie Samurai. I need to figure out a bunch of those settings. I'm good with sculpting, but I always feel like I'm doing the equivalent of painting a mural with a tiny detail brush. Okay, so first thing I would suggest is go back and watch the stream I did on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday's stream? Go have a look on my Twitch and check out Wednesday's stream. I sculpted a little imp. It was about an hour and a half long, I think, and then I went on to do supports and 3D print prep and everything for it. But I literally did the whole thing from start to finish. You'll see all of the stuff I do. I'm talking all the way through it, explaining what I'm doing. But I basically use the clay build-up brush on quite a large size, and then just like mashing all the details. And then I use things like H polish, Dynamesh with polish on, orb cracks, and a few other tools to kind of get all the details in. But what you can see on the right hand side here is probably about 95% of what I use on a day-to-day basis. I rarely go beyond that and use other things, to be fair, but clay build-up is the main one I use for bulking an area up. H polish for polishing things out, trim dynamic along with H polish to kind of like shape things a little bit if I need to take a big chunk off something. Inflate if I need to fill little gaps usually, and I sometimes use the clay brush instead of a smoothing brush. So like when you smooth, as you'll probably be aware, it kind of like you lose a lot of detail. If you use the clay brush, and you can use it with alternating between like positive and negative, so the alt add and subtract mode, use the alt key when you're using it, you can actually kind of create a polished surface that, well, I say polished mode, but you can create a smoothed surface using your clay brush, and you get a kind of a nicer, more kind of like painterly, sculptory finish to it. Whereas if you use a smooth brush, it kind of looks over processed, and like I say, you just lose the detail as well. So I don't like to smooth unless I have to, or unless it's in an area that I'm not going to see. I tend to prefer the H polish to just like buff the surface, like burnish it. So if you're sculpting with green stuff, you use a kind of a ball tool, so like something with the round end, and then you kind of work in very, very small circles to polish out the surface of the model. And what I'm doing when I use H polish is essentially the same thing. So I use the H polish tool the same way I would be burnishing if I'm sculpting in green stuff or clay. Okay, so Fangerin, yep, he's done. That's the last of the Merregon. Merregons? Merregai? I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the word right, if I'm honest. Could be Merregon. Well, it's got two R's, so. I'll be honest, some of the rules around the English language baffle the hell out of me sometimes. Like, my son's coming home from school with all this homework, and he's having to learn all these new spellings and things like that. And I understand, I know how to spell. I'm pretty good at English, but it's as a subject. But he's having to learn all the rules and stuff, and I can't remember them for the life of me. I cannot remember all of the terminology. I'm sure they've invented a lot of it since I was at school, because I'm pretty sure I didn't learn all of that stuff. But handily, let's say Hayley used to be a primary school teacher for about 15 years before she started working with me, and she's fantastic with the kids. She gets stuck right in there with the homework, and she can help to actually explain it to them, which, let's say, I'm not that. I can teach him how to do stuff, I can tell him how to do stuff, but I'm not necessarily telling him the way he needs to learn. So it's a bit of a difficult one these days, the kids. Okay, so So I wonder if anyone's tuned in today from the other streaming platforms, or if it's just going to be a slow burn on those things. But okay, up in the top of the shoulder pad again, get that gap filled between the outer part of the arm and the shoulder pad. Little cracks down the back here. I'll say it takes a little bit of time to do this. You know, on a set of models like this, I've been going for about an hour on this now, so it can take a while to just process it, but people won't see it, they won't realise it's an issue. Customers I'm talking about here, of course, they won't see these things going into the model, but whether they realise it or not, they will be appreciating the effort. Right, so I've already done a bit of the skirt on this one, so I'm just going to smooth that out. Pull the leg back in. Okay. Always have a little check under the chin as well, because you want to make sure if that chin is not supported to the it's not like self-supporting in a 3D print, you're going to have to get supports under there. So you either need to make sure you've got a means of putting a support in, or you've got an angle here that can be used when you tilt it back. So if I rotate this model back when we're supporting it to, don't know, probably going to have to be almost horizontal to be fair to do that. I think he's going to have to be just supported, unfortunately. Don't think I can get away with that one. Okay, so smooth that bit in. The top's done. Just got to inflate that little tiny hole there. In the corner of the elbow, we'll get that bit. Right, now with this one I managed to get the arm close enough to the body, but they're quite connected. But I am just going to come in with the inflate brush and just blow that up a little bit so there's not too big a, oh god, there's not too big a cavity behind there that's going to need painting in. So let's just try and fill as best as we can. Okay, up there into the armpit, I'm just going to fill that in as well. Inflate that up. Make sure that bit's done now. Okay, so arms are done, elbows, armpits, shoulder pads, skirts are addressed. Ah, did I chop the bottom of the foot off the last one? Alan, how you doing, mate? Good to see ya. Well, ish, you know what I mean. Right, so I'm just going to slice the bottom of his feet off again. Doing my Dynamesh with groups. This is it in the UK now. People are going to be tuning in because they'll be on their lunch breaks, grabbing a sarnie and perusing the phones, as we do. Right, so delete hidden on that one. So he is done apart from veins, I think now. He's got to do his like veins up on his arms. Okay, right then, so this guy is done. This guy is... no, I didn't chop his feet, so I'm just going to do the slice on his feet as well. Group and slice. And then delete the hidden. So they should all have now flat feet, which they do. Fantastic, they've all been filled and they're all done. So next thing to do, I'm going to unhide the lot of them. I'm going to just re-dynamesh each one just to make sure they're all at the same point. Okay, right, now I'm going to hide the ruler. And I'm going to, so you can see up the top here my total, I hope you can see anyway, my total points across all of these models, including that ruler, is currently 6.26 million. So I'm going to do my pre-process all, which basically everything that is visible in the scene at the moment is going to get pre-processed. This is just Zbrush doing a kind of an analysis of the mesh structure, see where it can kind of make economies and make savings. So it's going to run through all of these. It's going to go slowly through all of these, do a proper analysis, and then when it's done we can decimate them. Just doing the last one now. Okay, so we've got 20% decimation, which is the standard. I'm going to use this guy because he's got a good front-on view. I'm going to zoom in and have a look at his face and his arm so I can see all the detail here. And I'm going to click on decimate all. Okay, so this is taking it down to 20%, and I can see a few tiny little surface artifacts going on, a little bit of faceting. It's 255,000 polys now, which is much better, or points rather. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bump the decimation value up to about 30, and I'm just going to redo the decimate all, and hopefully we start seeing a bit less of this tessellation going on. Okay, so it's still there, but it's lessened a touch. So I'm just going to bump it back up to 40, 39. Decimate all. Okay, that's better. There we go. So you can change the value as many times as you need to, up and down, as long as you don't pre-process again. So pre-processing is storing that information about how Zbrush is going to kind of apply that decimation calculation to the model. So as long as you don't do the pre-process again or change anything on the model, if you sculpt on it, you've killed it. So you know you need to do it again. But yeah, as long as you don't pre-process, you can redecimate at different values as many times as you need to kind of get that sweet spot you're looking for. And that is it there. I'm just going to save the file. Now I need to bring my ruler back into the scene again. So again, the ruler is a relative scale all the time, so I always have my Y resolution over the left hand side. This is always set to 100 millimeters. This actually lives up here in the Z plugin menu. You've got a 3D print hub and you've got a scale master, I think it is. So if you go into scale master, you click on oh, I've changed it. Yeah, basically what you need to do is you need to make sure that the Y is set to 100 millimeters, which is what I've got over here. and as long as Y is 100mm, which is the vertical height of this ruler, when you export that, you export the ruler, you export all of the tools at the same time, so that will put all of 5 Merregons exported simultaneously with the ruler. And when we do this export to STL, you're going to see it's going to give me this option. So I'm just going to go and drop it into my miniature index. I think I need to create a new folder for Merregons. Set of 5. We'll open it. I'm just going to drop that in now. Use the subtool name as the file name, and that's done. So that's exported everything now. So they're all STL files living on my hard drive. Okay, so the settings I would use on here, if anyone wants to see them. So we do the 3D print hub. So here we go, 3D print hub. So my size, Y size, is 100mm. The settings I've got now, the settings I don't need to change, and I'll explain why in a second. But the size options I don't touch; they're all the same. The export options, I've set it to visible, so anything I hide gets removed from the export. So if you've got like hidden models, if I only want to export one model, I can just hide the rest of them and it'll only export the one. We've got the export to separate files, so each separate subtool becomes a separate STL file. There's no textures or poly paint selected, so none of these values apply, and it's done in standard binary. Now if you click on the bottom here, store export settings, once you've created that, you don't need to redo this every single time, which is why my little slider over on the left hand side over here, why this always says 100, because I don't need to change it then when I'm sculpting. Okay, so I've got the exported STL. This is saved. I'm going to close Zbrush for now. I've just saved that, so I don't need to do it. Okay, now I need to do the next bit, which is the netfabb processing. So on a previous stream I did a manual repair on the parts, which it's a process you don't actually need to do. So netfabb is it's an Autodesk package. You need an Autodesk login, but it's a free piece of software with limited functionality. You can have the full version, but it costs an absolute fortune. Thank you for the like, Hendrik. So yeah, with netfabb, it's good practice to always put your models through this. Lighty Slicer will do it for you, but it's a process that happens in Slicer. It lags the process up. It's so quick doing it this way, it just doesn't pay to not do it. So any models you ever get from me, they will always have this done already, so you don't have to then try and redo that in Lighty. Or in netfabb yourself, or as in Mesh Mixer or any other program that does these STL fixes. So I'm just going to open my miniature index. I'm going to go and find the Merregons file, which I've just created. I'm not going to get the ruler out, but I am going to drag all 5 Merregons onto the screen. So this is just drag and drop from my Windows folder. And then it's got automatic part repair ticked here. So with that on, what will happen is when I say yes to all of these parts, it's going to drop them straight in, and it's automatically going to create the it's automatically going to do that part fix for me. So there's no manual processes I need to do. It is just literally all being done for me. So then this next bit is just a bit of a process slog. Just wait for it to do its thing. And again, if you don't decimate and if these files are too large, this process now is going to take an absolute age. It's going to take a really long time to do it. And if you then try and do it in Slicer and stuff, Lighty's going to lag up and give you problems too. So keep the files as small as you can get away with without destroying the aesthetic of the model. Got to be there now nearly, come on. It's hanging for some reason. So the last couple of days my internet has been absolutely all over the place, so it's good that it's actually stayed on for the full stream here so far. Touch wood. Okay, so we've got the 5 Merregons. They're all positioned relative to each other as they were in my scene. When you drop them into Lychee Slicer, they probably should still come out at the same point, because this little green spot in the middle, that's the origin spot. So all of the models are positioned relative to that origin. So the origin will be the middle of the build plate, and then everything else should drop in around that. So I'm going to right click on the file name where it says repaired next to it. Repaired basically means that it's done the process. So I'm just going to go up there, export part as STL file. It's going to do one final check on the file for me, and it's going to tell me if it's still got any residual issues. So this one hasn't, it's got a green tick. I'll just click OK, and that's going to export that into the folder where it's just come from. Now what's good with this is if I take 20 different files from 20 different folders and put them all in here, when I export them, each file will export back to its original source folder, and it will use the same file name but with repaired appended to it. So exports number 2. So this one's got an issue. It's got 3 degenerate triangles. I'm going to click on optimize, see if we can fix it. Although 3 degenerate triangles probably not the end of the world. You could just push that one through and it'd be fine. But it's done it in this case, so we take that as a win. We'll do the next one now. Export STL. And again, it's just the same. Lather, rinse, repeat on each of these, and we are good. So I'm going to optimize that one again. 2 degenerate triangles this time. Okay, so I'm just going to process that because that one's gone through fine. Next one. It's weird as well because sometimes you can put 2 parts that are almost identical into the system, and it will give you, one of them will come up perfect with a green tick, and then the other one will come up with a big exclamation mark with loads of issues, and it might even actually not be able to resolve all of those issues, even though both of the parts are incredibly similar. So 2 degenerate triangles on this one. See, now here it's still left one of them in, so I'm just going to ignore that one. I'm just going to click OK. And on the final one here, because I know from experience that these are not going to affect the printability. Right, this one has got 4 degenerate triangles and 6 manifold edges. So, well, non-manifold edges is what it should be, I think. Which basically is like having an opening. You've got two edges that sit next to each other, but they're not joined together, which basically creates an invisible hole in the model. Okay, so it's managed to fix the degenerate triangles. It hasn't managed to fix the manifold edges. So I'm just going to try and optimise one more time on that one, see if it'll fix them, and if not, we'll just accept it and take it as it is. No, so it doesn't seem to be able to resolve the manifold edges, but I'll take it anyway. Okay, so that is netfabb done. No. Okay, so next we're going to open up Lychee Slicer. I'm going to delete the unrepaired STL files from my Merregons folder because I don't need them, don't want them. I'm going to drag the unsupported but repaired versions into Lychee. Now I'm wondering how long I've got to do before I get a little rat-tat-tat at the door. Okay, so I was wrong about the origin. It seems to have set the origin to the centre of the models now, so they're all going to come into Lychee in the same place. So first thing we need to do is just drag them all out, move them all side by side. Okay, so we've got they're all separate pieces now. I'm going to highlight all of them. I'm going to go to a side view, click on right at the top. I want the orthographic view rather than perspective view. I'm going to press R to rotate. I'm going to turn it to about there. That should just about do it. Okay, so I might tilt this guy back a touch more. Oh, alright. Use that red wheel to do it. The only reason I'm doing this, I want to try and reduce the height on them, because the higher they are, the more time it takes to print. Right, I'm going to press the T button, which is the T key, sorry, which is transpose, which is basically your move tool. And I was going to move each of the figures up a touch so we've got them off the ground. And then I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to use a trick from Ty at Table Flip Foundry. So we're going to go into island detection on here. So they've got a printer set up with island detection on it. It's a mock printer, it doesn't exist. 1 second, let me just message the wife and tell her I'm streaming. Okay, yeah, so it's a mock printer. I've got it several passes working set up. So we've got a 300 micron layer pass, 150 micron layer, 75 micron layer and 25 micron layer. The reason for this is when you do island detection in Lychee, it's going to use the layer height that you've got set on your printer. It's going to use that layer height to detect the islands. So for the first pass, we'll set it at 300. Select all the models, go to prepare, which is where you do the supports now, and we're going to do island search with real real accuracy. Now this is going to look across the whole model, and it's going to find all of those little islands, and across all 5 models it's found 188 islands. So I'm going to take a quick route on this one, and I'm going to do medium supports, and I'm going to add support to all islands. Couldn't do one of them, it's fine. So it's on this model because the others have gone yellow, which tells me that it's done all the islands. So on this model somewhere there is a hidden island, there we go, so it's just an island it couldn't reach. What's going on there? That's a weird place for an island. I'm going to have to check this now because I've got a fear there is a cavity there. But it seems to be picking up the bottom of the... It looks like it's highlighting there. But that's not a... No, I'm just going to try and resolve this by dropping the support into there. What is going on there? That's bizarre. That is a weird... Do you know what? I'm going to delete that because I think when I increase the layer height I don't think that's going to be a problem. Okay, so it's gone through now, it's placed medium supports all over the place for me. I'm going to come to the bottom of the feet, so that line there is on the bottom edge, so the bottom edge of the foot there, which is the lowest point in the model. I'm going to put a row of, oh no, that should be medium, sorry. I'm going to put a row of medium supports in. Oh god, what's going on? Something is not right here. Okay, so a row of medium supports across this edge of the foot. And that will help to give it a bit more surface area to anchor it to the bottom of the build plate. We'll do the same on this foot here. Just run that around the outside edge. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to go back and change my 3D printer to 100 and, let's do a 75 micron pass. So what you can do with this is you use the first pass and put some large supports in. You come back and do the second pass and reduce the size of the supports down a touch. Third pass, same again, and then the final pass you just use some like little minor tiny ones. But I only ever really use like 2 or 3 sizes of supports, whatever happens. So right, so I need to select the models again, so shift and click to select the models, so they're all blue. I'm going to do island detection again, so this is a 75 micron layer height. Okay, so it's found 139 islands this time. Right, so what I'll do now is I could automatically apply support to the islands, but what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to click to place the supports where I want them to go. Right, now that one I'm going to change that to a heavy support because I've got a feeling it's going to need it, and that one's going to become heavy. The heavies, so again I'll just explain my theory behind support placement. There's 2 different types of supports you're going to need. There's structural supports and like anchor supports, and there are enabling supports. So the enabling supports are the ones that are going to allow the model to print. So this is talking about small superficial details, little overhangs, things like that. So those kind of supports are going to be critical to making sure that the whole detail comes out in the model. The structural supports are going to prevent the model from wobbling around on the build plate, and make sure that the model doesn't detach from the supports during the print. So they're very important. They are they're critical supports that you can't do without. And you need a mixture of both to be able to kind of support the model. So you want a few anchors, and then we're going to go and put like a little medium onto there. We're going to connect it to that to reduce the number of physical supports that we've got on the model. Now often what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll merge some of these supports together, so I want them to come from the same kind of, they'll stem off kind of thing. And what that does is it just reduces the support volume, but you need to make sure that the supports they're connecting to are going to be robust enough to be able to kind of take the hit. So you don't want like a super thin, 5mm support rod, and try and connect everything to that. You want something that's got a bit of heft to it. So like this support here is nonsensical to me. I'll connect that to there. In fact, what I'll do is we'll do a row of those as like a fan support. And that'll help to make sure that this this long straight edge. Don't know why those two have come out red. It'll help to make sure that this long straight edge comes out, you know, properly printed. So again, now I'm just going to connect that to there and put another one out. Now this support has picked up on the end there for some reason, but not there, so I'm just going to relocate that. I'm going to press Alt and P on it as well to make it into a pillar, which basically means it's perfectly straight. All of these can be pillars for that matter. Or maybe not. Maybe that first one is a heavy pillar, and the rest of these can be straight perhaps. So Alt and S for straight, Alt and P for pillar. Alt and S. Let's do another. That can be a light support because it doesn't need to be a strong one. Go for one with the finger there. And I want to kind of take them to the same side. I don't want anything crossing over the model, because if things cross over the model, it can make releasing the model from the supports a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to put a little light support there, and again there. And here, not sure I'm going to get away with joining that to that one, or I want to put it, but we'll go to there and there. I'm going to make that last one a medium support, because anything that's at the bottom of the model, like a low point, is going to be it's going to need to take some weight on it. If it's little details, you can get away with light supports. If they're weight bearing or load bearing, you're going to need either heavy or medium. Right, for that one I need to change the mode. So we're going to go into advanced mode, which is space, and that'll allow you to change the position of it. Okay. Here, the bottom corner of that. Come on, where's my support? Medium. What's going on? Oh, it's doing. Okay, so in advanced mode, you can't actually place new supports. You can just edit them. So I'm going to hold. No, not space. I'm going to hold Alt as I click that. I'm going to go and lock that into there. So Alt allows you to connect a support to a previous one. Holding Shift and Alt takes that next support from the same location. So they both stem out at the same point on the support there. Okay, I'm going to now find the next one. This looks like a spike on his arm. I can connect that to the halberd supports. So we've got one here. I'm going to connect that to there, and again there, and there. No, yeah, the last one's not going to work. I'm going to have to. The last one's going to have to be there. It's just going to be its own support, which is annoying because I could have possibly dealt with that, but I possibly still can actually. Let me just see if I can bring it over and drop it into there. No, I'll leave it as it is. It's not worth trying for the sake of it. Okay, so there's still an island left on him somewhere. There's one. Is that it? Okay, I'm going to use my small light supports. I'm going to put an extra couple of these across the edge of this blade here, and then one at the tip. That's gnarly. What's going on there? I'm going to put one on this one here, bring it back into there, and then I'm going to just take a couple from here, just to help support that a little bit. So we've got a micro support just in there that'll need cutting out and removing. And he's now gone yellow. So this is 75 micron layer height. I don't expect many more, to be fair. Right, now rather than do all of these, because I've got a feeling, like I say, I'm going to have a little rat-tat-tat on the door in a minute with a little 3-year-old girl who wants to tell me all about her school day. I'm just going to do another final pass on him, which I'll turn it to my actual printer, which is 25 micron. So this is pre-supported for 25 micron printing. I'm going to do a final search on this one guy. We'll see how many islands this picks up. Now, because this guy was highlighted blue, it should only be looking for islands on this one person, on this one model. Right. So it's found. Well, it says 138, but I'm pretty sure that's across the whole file, because there was 115 on there beforehand. So I'm going to go in there with that. I'm just going to place these. So I want that one's going to go there. That could probably be a light one. This one could be a light one too. This one I will make a heavy, I think, actually. I'm just going to pop that in as it is. I'll make that one heavy. That one can be a medium support. Okay, now down here I've got a few annoying little details that irk me a bit, but so I'm going to put a light support there and there, and another one here. Right, now these little studs, they're non-structural, so they can just go as they can just be light supports. They don't need to be significantly sized or heavy duty or anything. This bit is again just a little corner. Now if you're printing for yourself and you just want a quick model on the table, you can do this at 50 microns. Now these supports will still work for 50 micron layers, but there's far more than you need. If you scan for 50 micron layer heights, you'll probably end up needing a lot less. So like the 75mm, you saw there was a lot less that it detected there, or 0.75 rather. There it is. See it now. And there. Okay, so apparently I've still got something on this model somewhere. There, there we go. That can be a mini support. I think this next one could be a mini support too, because you could almost ignore this one, but it's going to give you an error, tell you it's not supported. So I'm just going to connect that to there and make that a mini. Right, no, it still hasn't gone yellow. I'm just going to go and hide everything apart from the one I'm working on, and I want it to show me the islands on here. Right, so we've got one little island underneath the tiny bit of foot there, which is just frankly annoying. Oh, 2 islands in that one spot, so it's picked them both up and we're done. Okay, so that is fully supported now for printing at 25 micron layer height. fairly confident that's going to work out okay. I may just drop one last little support there, a medium one, just for good measure. So what I'll do, I'll get these on the build plate. I've got Eleanor and I've got Griblet, both sculpted, both fully supported, so they're ready to go onto the plate. I'll get these guys done, and then I'll jump on and do the spine devils as well. And then I'll drop all of them onto a build plate and try and get them all test printed to make sure they're viable. And then they can all be uploaded onto My Mini Factory and Cults and Mini Hoarder, etc. So yeah, if you want to get hold of them today or this week at the best price, the best way of getting them is to sign up on the Patreon. Otherwise everything could be in the store ready to download shortly. Okay, right guys, thanks for tuning in. Let's see who is Mike Moans on again, or Alchemy Painter maybe. Let's have a quick check, see who's running at the moment. And right, let's go for Mike again. Let's drop you in onto Mike Moans, because he did make me chuckle yesterday, I'll tell you. Raid Mike Moans. Okay, so thanks again for tuning in, guys. I'm going to drop us out now, and I'll see you again soon. Take it easy, everybody. Are we ready to rock? Now.